Now live. I think. Yes, we are now live. And this is the 50th episode. Ah! This is the 50th episode of the of calling whatever it is that we're doing here. You can read the title there. I can't read. Of calling sacred cows. This is my very gracious co-host Caleb Beers. He has deigned to show up for this. I don't know quite where this conversation is going to go, but I know that with Mr. Beers present, it's going to be something nice. We will touch a bit on the Iliad, of course, but I figure that there's enough other things to talk about that we don't need to make the biggest possible deal of it. Anyhow, Mr. Beers, would you mind giving a bit of a recap about what it is that you were discussing in your own stream a few hours ago?
Well, we were just discussing... I remember I was asking people for money.
Ah, yes, give Caleb money. That's very important.
Very important.
Oh, maybe are you willing to discuss what it is that you are attempting to do? Just a big picture idea of what it is you are attempting to do, both with your stream and then also in terms of what it is your life goals are, what you see yourself doing or would like to see yourself doing here in the upcoming years.
What I would like to see myself doing in the coming years?
Yes.
What I would like to see myself doing in the coming years is making a living on this. And no longer working at the normal job.
So basically you want to cease working in tech support and do streaming and writing and basically being a right-wing propaganda machine.
Yes.
Oh, lovely. And what is your criteria for quitting, or a criterion or set of criteria or what have you for quitting your job and doing this full-time?
Is making $2,000 a month on Patreon, or just off of my stuff in general. But if it's on Patreon, I'm making $2,000 a month for 3 months straight, I'm done with my job.
Excellent. And I don't know if I'm ever going to make streaming a full-time job, but I like the idea of being able to have a repository of things it is that we've discussed. Things that are actually worth having. Things that I could go and point to and tell my kids, hey, if something ever happens to Dad and you're interested in knowing his opinions on some things, you can go and look at these. And whereas you'll definitely see a lot of weird banter with his friends and a lot of false starts and weird things, which is probably nothing new for you anyway because, well, you've eaten at the dinner table with your dad. Hopefully there will be something worth something being left online on account of doing these streams and on account of working with people that I respect and admire. Ultimately, especially in this, I refuse to work with people that I don't respect or admire. Life is too short to surround yourself with the wrong kinds of people. And another goal that I have with doing this is surrounding myself with the right kinds of people. The kinds of people that watch this stream are likely going to be the kinds of people that I wouldn't mind spending time with in real life. Whether they agree or disagree with me If you're tolerant enough to sit around for hours watching this kind of stuff, it says an awful lot about you. And I'm looking to improve social circles all throughout the world, and to perhaps change the definition of a social circle to not only encompass one's own neighbors and friends and so on, but to encompass people that we can get along with from thousands of miles away if necessary, and still show up at each other's doorstep at just say, hey, I'm gonna be in the country, I'm gonna be in town, wanna get together, and then do something like that.
And it's I don't know. I mean, like, having a repository would be good, but it's whenever I've tried to put together like an encyclopedic sort of explanation of all of my views or ideas or whatever, I don't I don't know. I haven't been able to really give it a structure to all of it yet.
Well, it's very difficult to do so because to impose, you're almost imposing an external structure on an internal construct. And especially as human beings, it's oftentimes a lot easier to get to know someone else, and in the process get to know one's values, ideals, ideas, and so on.
Right.
Like, I have a friend, Caleb Beers. He happens to believe these things. He happens to have a set of values that aligns with mine very closely. Therefore, we are even more than friends. We are allies, in a sense. Or, even if I didn't like you for some reason, we could still be allied with each other due to the fact that we have a similar set of goals. And oftentimes I've noticed that if you do have a similar set of goals with somebody else, you can develop a friendship over time, whereas one might begin as merely co-workers or merely allies, from business partners or partners in ventures that are actually worthwhile. You can often find some of the most significant of friendships.
Right.
Which translation of the Iliad do you have?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, it's all blank pages, of course, but... Oh, I have a guitar pick in there. It's all blank pages, of course. But, this was from Barnes & Noble. Let me pretend to read who the translator was. Samuel Butler? No. Can't be it.
Well, my translator, the translator of my edition is William Cowper.
William Calvert.
Cowper.
You said.
Cowper.
Yes, it does not say anywhere who the translator is. Wait, let me see here. Oh, Samuel Butler.
Samuel Butler. Okay. So that means there's actually a chance that your translation is better in terms of the meter.
You think?
Mm-hmm. I'm reading the translation by Cowper, but that's just because it happens to be in the public domain and is very easily accessible. If you just go and search William Cowper Iliad, you should be able to find the Gutenberg link. it says translated into English blank verse. So I think I think that the objective here is to be as true to the original as possible, where and somehow not.
Well, blank verse is iambic without rhyme, I believe.
Yes. Iambic pentameter without rhyme. So you're not imposing too much structure, but imposing some semblance of structure upon what it is that you're doing, so that people can tell that it actually is a poem, as opposed to prose or some weird demented translation of a poem that retains so little of what it of what it used to have. So anyhow, we are in book. Yeah, tell me, for ye are heavenly and beheld, a scene whereof the faint report alone. Yeah, that's definitely iambic.
Was brillig in the slithy tove and the jars the gimble in the wabe, while mimsy were the thorough groves and the mome wraths out grabe.
So I would be interested. Would you mind reading a bit from your version, beginning in Book 2, line 581, and we can compare.
2, line 581,
and then I can 581 through 593, and then I can read the same thing and then see how they differ.
How does it start?
Hello, Alex, and hello. I'm only jesting. That would be Jacob.
So, how does line 581 start?
Tell me, for ye are heavenly and beheld, a scene whereof the faint report alone hath reached our ears remote and ill-informed. Tell me, ye muses, under whom beneath, etc.
What's going on around that line? Because this doesn't even have line breaks.
Oh, that sucks. Oh, that's so you have prose?
Yes.
Well, then forget about it. No! No.
Go to the point where he beats Thersites.
That would be line 500 and. No, wait. This is at 400 something. Well, this is quite a ways back. Then Nestor, the Gerenian warrior old. No, that's even further back. I'm way slower at reading poetry than I am any other kind. Thus mocking royal Agamemnon spake Thersites, instant starting to his side. So Thersites spoke, he seized, and Ulysses goes and beats the shit out of him. I'm sorry, that's not how it goes in the rhyme. That's line 320.
I want to read about Thersites for a second.
Well, you can go ahead and read it in the prose. I'd be interested in hearing what your take is on the thing.
Now, may I?
Go ahead.
The rest now took their seats and kept to their own several places, but Thersites still went on wagging his unbridled tongue. A man of many words, and those unseemly, a monger of sedition, a railer against all who were in authority, who cared not what he said, so that he might set the Achaeans in a laugh. He was the ugliest man of all those that came before Troy, bandy-legged, lame of one foot, with his 2 shoulders rounded and hunched over his chest. His head ran up to a point, but there was little hair on top of it. Achilles and Odysseus hated him worst of all, for it was with them that he was most wont to wrangle. Now, however, with a shrill, squeaky voice he began heaping his abuse on Agamemnon. The Achaeans were angry and disgusted, yet nonetheless he kept on bawling and brawling at the son of Atreus. "Agamemnon," he cried, "what ails you now, and what more do you want? Your tents are filled with bronze and with fair women, for whenever we take a town we give you the pick of them. Would you have yet more gold, which some Trojan is to give you as a ransom for his son, when I or another Achaean has taken him prisoner? Or is it some young girl to hide away and lie with? It is not well that you, the ruler of the Achaeans, should bring them into such misery. Weakling cowards, women rather than men, let us sail home, and leave this fellow here at Troy to stew in his own meeds of honor, and discover whether we were of any service to him or no. Achilles is a much better man than he is, and see how he has treated him, robbing him of his prize and keeping it himself. Achilles takes it meekly and shows no fight. If he did, son of Atreus, you would never again insult him." Thus railed Thersites, but Odysseus at once went up to him and rebuked him sternly. "Check your glib tongue, Thersites," said he, "and babble not a word further. Chide not with princes when you have none to back you. There is no viler creature come before Troy with the sons of Atreus. Drop this chatter about kings, and neither revile them nor keep harping about going home. We do not yet know how things are going to be, nor whether the Achaeans are to return with good success or evil. How dare you jibe at Agamemnon because the Danaans have awarded him so many prizes? I tell you, therefore, and it shall surely be, that if I again catch you talking such nonsense, I will either forfeit my own head and be no more called father of Telemachus, or I will take you, strip you stark naked, and whip you out of the assembly till you go blubbering back to the ships." On this he beat him
He
with his
seized
staff
and with his
about the
scepter
back
on the
and
back.
shoulders, till he dropped and fell a-weeping. The golden scepter raised a bloody weal on his back, so he sat down frightened and in pain, looking foolish as he wiped the tears from his eyes. The people were sorry for him, yet they laughed heartily, and one would turn to his neighbor, saying, "Odysseus has done many a good thing ere now in fight and council, but never did the Argives a better turn, or Argives, or however you say it, than when he stopped his fellow's mouth from prating further. He will give the king no more of his insolence."
He seized
Now,
him with
I've
his
read
scepter on the
accounts of
back.
this.
Do you mind if I read the iambic? Because the iambic gets you really into the just.
Yes,
He
go ahead.
seized him with his scepter on the back, and shoulders smote him writhing to and fro. He wept profuse, while many a bloody whelk, protuberant beneath the scepter, sprang. Awe-quelled he sat, and from his visage mean, deep sighing, wiped the rheums. It was no time for mirth, yet mirth illumined every face. And laughing, thus they spake 1,000 acts, illustrious both by well-concerted plans and prudent disposition of the host. Ulysses hath achieved, but this by far transcends his former praise that he hath quelled such contumelious rhetoric profuse. The valiant talker shall not soon, we judge, take liberties with royal names again. So spake the multitude, then stretching forth the scepter city spoiler chief arose. Ulysses him beside, herald in form, appeared Minerva. It's all you.
Well, I read a commentary on this piece, which of course got into the fact that Thersites is a low-class warrior and Odysseus is nobility and how it's oppressive and so forth. But
Really?
what I think oh yeah, the funny part is that that's kind of missing the point. The point is that Thersites is a stupid, useless asshole and he gets beaten up, and that's satisfying. Yeah, we kind of feel sorry for him because stupid, useless people are pathetic, but on the other hand, it's good to watch him get whacked on the head, and I'm pretty sure that's what that's supposed to be.
Oh, yeah. And if we go and look at things in terms of pathos, ethos, and logos, Thersites was lacking sorely in ethos. So no matter what he did or said, he wouldn't be taken seriously. Especially if he was an attempted mutineer.
Yeah, it's watching a stupid, useless asshole get what he deserves, and I think that's about it.
I think that Alex is trying to correct us in terms of the pronunciation. I guess I'm going to have to go and look at the actual Greek, otherwise I'm not going to be able to be sure of the exact pronunciation of said person's name. I need to go and find the Greek translation, a Greek version of the Iliad. I used to have a
Okay, whoever just donated to me, if they're watching this stream, thank you, Fahad Al-Razoki.
oh, lovely.
Another one.
See, going and stating your intentions, stating what you're trying to do, allows you to amass with you people with similar goals. And it really makes a big difference. Every bit, little or big, winds up counting.
Indeed.
Why can't I find the Greek version of the Iliad? The SparkNote shows up, but the Greek version doesn't.
Argaevs.
The archives, I'm pretty sure, is not alpha. I really need to get this in Greek. Maybe I can ask my parents to send me the version that's collecting dust in their basement. Maybe I don't even know where it is anymore. Hopefully it didn't get damaged by water. Has the quality of the stream gone down, or like is the stream continuing?
The stream is continuing.
Oh, good, good. Oh no, Allah's here.
Allah in
Help! Help! Allah's here. No, no. Allah's awesome. I do very much appreciate his. Oh, there we are. I just went and stopped the streaming video on my end, and all of a sudden the quality I think went up a little bit. So I'll just not stream, or not stream. I'll not receive the stream, even though I don't think that upload and download should have too much to do with each other. I'd be interested.
And we'll be going to what, about 7 your time?
About 7,
All
about
right.
midnight. It'd be somewhere between 11:30 and midnight your time. That we'd be calling it quits here. So
Excellent.
Anyhow, a little bit more happens after this point. After Thersites receives his thrashing, then people deliver their speeches. Ulysses goes, or Odysseus, but we call him Ulysses in this particular version, goes and encourages people to go to war. Nestor encourages people to go to war. Nestor is kind of the sage, the advisor figure, the one whom I would say, the one who has more, or probably the most perceived ethos in the entire group.
It occurs to me that the modern readers who sympathize with Thersites are the people who are most like him.
I mean, the people that need to, a rod for the back of fools.
Yes.
Well, of course, because if you go and condone, it's almost like the study conducted upon people who were involved in a particular crime or a problem. So let's say if you are a murderer, you are less likely to be an advocate for the death penalty unless you have a death wish yourself. If you are an adulterer, you are much more likely to be lenient on other adulterers in professing your opinion about things, because you ultimately don't want to be held to the same high standard that you would set for others in a similar situation to your own, etc. So this idea goes over into literature as well. You can't possibly deal with the cognitive dissonance of going and saying that this one particular literary character deserves a thrashing, when in so doing you would analogously be admitting that I deserve a thrashing. It takes a very, very big person to be able to own up to one's own inadequacies and say, yeah, this person deserves a thrashing, I deserve a thrashing, what of it? I'm going to improve. I love how you began and accentuated that particular point, because it was one that I didn't necessarily talk about enough myself. Oh dear. Apparently the stream is... YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain the...
The vid quality looks good on my phone.
Oh, good. Well, that's funny. That's really funny, because it's saying that the vid quality is non-existent over here, but whatever. Well, I guess we'll
also,
just
we
keep
have
on going.
5 people watching, but I'm the only one who has hit like. So quit slacking off, people. We got to hit that like button to make sure this video goes up in the rankings.
Yes, fortunately, it'll be receiving a sufficient number of comments, but definitely drawing attention to the channel, even if you don't necessarily like this very video, is kind of an important thing to do. Of course, I know that you actually do like this video, right? Or at bare minimum, the banter that can occur on account of doing this. It's in 240p. Ah! That sucks. I'm streaming in 720p. Let's see if that's any better. Yeah, I think that this is probably... I hate this happens. And it happens every single morning at 5. For some reason, there winds up being a downgrade in the quality of the connection. It lasts until about 8 or 9 in the morning. Perhaps it's when they do their scheduled maintenance. I don't know. Because most people, I guess, aren't up in between 5 and 8 or 9. Maybe people deserve a thrashing over here.
A rod for the back of an inadequate engineer.
Yes. You gotta love systems that... No. Hey. Want to talk about the sarcophagus being dropped from the edge of space?
Oh no. A plexiglass sarcophagus if Matt has his way.
Well, I mean, that's only for giving you the people that are both thrill seekers and voyeurs.
Thrill seekers and what?
Or exhibitionists, or what do you call the person that wants to be seen? Or maybe you could just like have a dome, a bubble. So voyeurs are the people that are watching. Is exhibitionist? I don't know any of these I don't know any of these terms. I know voyeurism would be wanting to watch. Exhibitionist, I think, would be the term for the person that wants to be seen. Og.
Voyeurs, that's what they're called.
Voyeurs. Okay, yay. So you wind up having, dropping people in a sarcophagus from the edge of space. You have a sarcophagus built for 2. And the whole reason that you would do this, of course, is to be able to sell rides. And then if you sell the rides, then that means you'll be able to jump from the edge of space down to the Earth yourself and have it all paid for. The reason I bring that up is because I'm pretty sure my wife would think that I deserve a rod for my back if I do that. And because I was having a conversation with one of the people watching the stream about this just last night.
You mean... I believe that the current technical term is attention whore.
Okay, so we're looking for exhibitionist. Yes. The INTJ is a weird combination indeed. Oh boy. How is the INTJ weird? The INTJ is the most normal out of all of it, every single type.
Since when is the INTJ normal?
Since I am one.
INTJs are as weird as INTPs, they just hide it better.
I'm the most normal person in the world, don't you know that?
Oh, of course you are.
Well, my family's full of INTJs, and a couple INTPs, a couple ENTPs, an ENFJ. So, I need to shave. Anyhow, this is the 50th episode. So, what is it that makes these episodes that are divisible by 10? These things with a prime factorization of 2 to the some power and 5 to the some power. What is it that makes these things notable? Like, why do people care about them?
Because we have 10 fingers.
So you can go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 episodes. And then the 100th really makes a big difference because you can go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. You know, we should really just start making a big deal about everyone's 62nd birthday.
Why? 2 and 31?
Because it's the 62nd birthday.
Oh. Well, that's a great reason.
Exactly. I mean, it's just as good of a reason as we have 10 fingers, 10 toes. We could all join some secret society where we have to chop off one of our fingers. What are you thinking about, Caleb?
I was going to say where we have to remove our foreskin, but I think that one was taken.
Yeah, that was already taken. Oof. Oh, at least that was done on the 8th day. Of course, for converts. Hey, there's actually a really cool story about that.
Alex Lewis, I have not seen you around, or if I have, I don't remember you. I remember I'm only jesting, and of course, I'm quite familiar with you, but Alex Lewis.
This is the person with
I've
whom I
not
was having
seen
the
this
conversation
man
yesterday.
around, or woman. Huh?
This is the person with whom I was having the conversation about the sarcophagus. Were we discussing that on your stream, my stream, or off stream?
I believe that was off stream, because I remember your wife walked out of the room. She was off camera, and you were talking to her about it, and then you said, no, and then you can have one that's clear in case people want to watch. And then you just started laughing, and I didn't see her, but I knew what happened. She turned around and walked off.
Yes, it was wonderful. The reaction was it was so perfect. Oh boy, the reaction was perfect. My wife was... Oh, she... She has... And we actually have a scoring system. My dad, my brother, and I refined a scoring system for reactions that we were able to get out of my mom. We had this circle time, basically, where we would all sit on the floor in a circle before bedtime and tell about our day and so on. And we would get points depending on what kind of looks we could get from my mom. So there was the frog smile. That was 2 points. Where you get her deliberately ignoring you but noticing every single word. That's 2 points. Then there's the angry horse look accompanied by the angry horse whinny. That was worth 4 points. And then combinations were worth the different thing. Combinations of certain things within a particular time frame were worth the constituent elements multiplied by one another. And so I wound up getting from my wife, when we were discussing the clear plexiglass coffin being dropped from the edge of space, I wound up getting 4 points for that. Two times 2, the frog smile, and then deliberately being ignored. The stream is unavailable? Combos, the stream is unavailable. What in the world is that supposed to mean?
We're still streaming. I can see it on YouTube.
So yeah, hopefully people can still see what we're doing. Unless, of course, they don't want to see, in which case they don't have to. It's not like we're being exhibitionists or anything like that.
Exhibitionists?
Yes.
No. I won't show you my hairy chicken chest.
Well, it's entirely possible to do all sorts of inappropriate things, and it's kind of fun to do it to get a reaction out of other people, but... Oh, Mr. Beers.
3rd grade.
Yep. Yep. I think it's very interesting that... Well, first off, I'm thankful that everyone who's watching is watching. And secondly, I think that it's interesting Yes, I know we are being exhibitionist, but not in the demented, nasty sense. Only in the best possible sense, Mr. Ballester. And don't you forget it. So, here is line 581 and following. So this is in the context of I believe is in the context of Nestor encouraging people to go to war. Tell me, for ye are heavenly and beheld, a scene whereof the faint report alone hath reached our ears remote and ill-informed. Tell me, ye muses, under whom beneath what chiefs of royal or of humbler note stood forth the embattled Greeks, the host at large. They were a multitude in number more than with 10 tongues and with 10 mouths each mouth, made vocal with a trumpet's throat of brass. I might declare, unless the Olympian 9, Jove's daughters would the chronicle themselves indite of all assembled under Troy. I will rehearse the captains and their fleets. Boeotius' sturdy sons Peneleus led, and Leotus' partners in command. Arcelius and Prothoenor came, and Colonius, them the dwellers on the rocks. Of Aulis followed with the hardy clans, of Hyrieae, Scholos, and the hills, of Ateon, Thespia, Grea, and the plains, of Mycalesus, them and Harma served. Elion, Erethe, Pedaeon, Hule, them, Hesius and Ocalia, and the strength, of Medeon, Copae also in their train, marched with Eutreses and the mighty men, of Thisbe famed for doves nor pass unnamed, whom Coronea and the grassy land, of Haliartus added to the war, nor whom Plaid nor whom Glyssa bred, and Hippothebe and thy sacred groves, to Neptune dark Onchestus Arne claims, a record next for her illustrious sons, vine-bearing Arne, thou wast also there, Medea and thou Nyssa, nor be thine, though last, Anthedon a forgotten name. These in Boeotius' fair and gallant fleet, of 50 ships each bearing o'er the waves, thrice 40 warriors had arrived at Troy. In 30 ships deep laden with the brave, Aspledon and Orchomenus had sent, their chosen youth them ruled a noble pair, sons of Astyoche she lovely nymph, received by stealth on Actor's stately roof, the embraces of a god and born to Mars, twins like himself, Ascalaphus the bold, and bold, this is interesting, word went and took the characters away. I'm assuming it's Ilmenus, expert in arms. Beneath Epistrophus and Schedius took their destined station on Boeotia's left. The brave Phocensians, they and 40 ships, from Cyparissus came, and from the rocks of Python, and from Crissa the divine, from Anemoria Daulis Panopius, and from Hiampolus, and from the banks of the Cephissus sacred stream, and from Lilaea seated at its fountain head, and so on. Next from beyond Euboea's happy isle, in 40 ships conveyed stood forth well armed, the Locrians dwellers in Augia some, the pleasant, some of Opoeus possessed, some of Calarius their Scarfa sent, and Sinnis those from Bessa came the rest, from Tarpha, Thronius, and from the brink of loud Boagrius, Ajax them the swift, son of Aeolus led, not such as he, from Telamon big-boned and lofty built, but small of limb and of a humbler crest, yet he, competitor, had none throughout, The Grecians of what land soe'er for skill, in ushering to its mark the rapid lance. Elphenor brought Calchedon's mighty son, the Euboeans to the field in 40 ships, from Hystrea for her vintage famed, from Chalcis, from Eretria from the gates, of maritime Cerinthus from the heights, of Dios rock-built citadel sublime, and from Charistus and from Styra came, his warlike multitudes all named alike. Albantis, on whose shoulders fell behind their locks profuse, and they were eager all to split the hauberk with the pointed spear. Now Athens had withheld her generous sons, the people of Erectithus him of old. The teeming Glebe produced a wondrous birth, and Pallas reared him her own unctuous fane. She made his habitation where with bulls the youth of Athens, and with slaughtered lambs, her annual worship celebrate, then led Menestheus, whom sage Nestor's self, except thrice schooled in all events of human life, none rivaled e'er in the just array of horse and man to battle 50 ships. Black proud had borne them to the distant war. Ajax from Salamis 12 vessels brought, and where the Athenian band in phalanx stood, marshalled compact there stationed he his powers, the men of Argos, and Torintha next, and of Hermione that stands retired, with Athena with her spacious bay, of Epidaurus crowned with purple vines, and of Traisna with the Achaean youth, of sea-begirt Aegina, and with thine, Maceda, and the dwellers on thy coast, wave-worn Aeonoi. These all obeyed. The dauntless hero Diomede, whom served Diomede. I'm thinking in terms of a Finn, and how a Finn would read Greek now, so I'm having a little bit of trouble. Sthenelus, son of Capaneus, a chief, of deathless fame his second in command, and godlike man, Euryalus, the son of King Mesistitus, Talaus' son, his third. But Diomede controlled them all in him. Twice 40 sable ships their leader owned. Came Agamemnon with 100 ships, exulting in his powers more numerous they, and more illustrious far than other chief could boast whoever, clad in burnished brass. And conscious of preeminence he stood, he drew his host from cities far renowned, Messina and Corinthus, seat of wealth, Ornea and Cleone, bulwarks strong, and lovely Erythrea, Sicyon, where his seat of royal power held at the first, Adrastus, Hyperetia, and the heights of Gonoissa, Aegeum with the towns that sprinkle all that far extended coast, Pellene also, and wide Hellas, with all their shores were numbered in his train. From hollow Lacedaemon's glen profound, from fair Sparta, and from Messa still, resounding with the ring-dove's amorous moan, from Brysia, from Aegea, from the rocks of Laas, from Amycla, Otilis, and from the towers of Helos, at whose foot the surf of ocean falls, came 60 barks, with Menelaus from the monarch's host. The royal brother ranged his own apart, and panted for revenge of Helen's wrongs, and of her sighs and tears from rank to rank, conscious of dauntless might he passed and sent into all hearts the fervor of his own. Gerenian Nestor in thrice 30 ships had brought his warriors, they from Pylus came, from blithe Arene, and from Therius built, fast by the fords of Alpheus, and from steep and stately Ape their confederate powers, sent Amphigenia, Cyparis veiled, with broad redundance of funereal shades, Pteleus and Helos, and of deathless fame, Dorian, in Dorian erst the Muses met, Thraotian, Thamyris on his return from Eurytus, Echalian chief, and hushed his song forever, for he dailed to vaunt that he would pass in song even themselves, the Muses, daughter of Jove, Aegis armed. They therefore by his boast incensed the bard. Struck blind and from his memory dashed severe all traces of his once celestial strains. Arcadia's sons, the dwellers at the foot of Mount Selene, where Apitus sleeps, entombed, a generation bold in flight, and warriors hand to hand, the valiant men. Of Phineus, of Orchomenus by flocks, grazed numberless of Rhepus, Stratia bleak, and Sippe, Matinia, city fair, Stymphalius and Parrhasia, and the youth of Tegea, royal Agapenor, these. And Sais' offspring had in 60 ships, to Troy conducted numerous was the crew, and skilled in arms which every vessel brought, and Agamemnon had with barks himself supplied them, for of inland realms possessed, they little heeded maritime employs. The dwellers in Buprasium on the shores of pleasant Elis, and in all the land, Mercinus and the Herminian plain between, the rock Olinian and the Elysian fount. These all obeyed 4 chiefs and galleys 10, each chief commanded with Epeans filled. Amphimachus and Thalpius governed these. This son of Cteas, the other sprung. Cteatus, the other sprung, from Eurytus and both of Actor's house. Durius, son of Amarynceus, those, led on and for his godlike form renowned. Polyxenus was chieftain o'er the rest, son of Augustinus, Augeas' son. I really wish I just had the names in Greek and the rest in English. That would be so much easier to read. Dulichium and her sister sacred isles, the Echinides whose opposite aspect looks toward Elis o'er the curling waves, sent forth their powers with Megas at their head. Brave son of Phyleus, warrior dear to Jove, Phyleus in wrath his father's house renounced, and to Dulichium wandering their abode, twice 20 ships had followed Megas forth. Ulysses led the Cephallenians bold, from Ithaca and from the lofty woods. Of Nereidus they came, and from the rocks. Of rude Agilippa, Crasilia these, and these Zacynthus owned, nor yet a few. From Samos, from Epirus joined their aid, and from the opposite Ionian shore, them wise as Jove himself Ulysses led, in 12 fair ships with crimson prows adorned. From 40 ships Thoas, Andremon's son, had landed his Aetolians for extinct, was Meleager and extinct the house of Aeneas, nor Aeneas' self survived. To Thoas therefore had Aetolia fallen. Him Olinos Pilina Chalcus served, with Pluro and the rock-bound Calydon. Idomeneus, spear-practiced warrior led the numerous Cretans in twice 40 ships. He brought his powers to Troy the warlike bands. Agnosus of Gortina walled around, of Lyctus, of Lycastus chalky white, of Festus of Miletus with the youth. Of Retius him obeyed, nor these were all, but others from her 100 cities Crete, sent forth all whom Idomeneus the brave commanded with Myrrhenes in arms, dread as the god of battles, blood imbrued. And I'll pause here to say why it is I think, and I don't know whether I'm right here or not, but one of the compelling reasons that I see for having a gigantic list like this is that having that list, having the constant going through who all showed up, first off, is incredibly important to people whose lineages were traced back to these people. You know, people can be sitting there with bated breath waiting for their ancestors' names to be called out. So that's one aspect. Then the other aspect is it illustrates how many relatively free peoples were able to be brought under one banner when the cause was great enough.
And it also, it really, the impact of it wouldn't be enough if he just said countless of them, but listing each single chieftain or king and all the ships that came with them, and listing and listing and listing. Of course, you're not going to remember it all, and you're not supposed to. It's supposed to kind of roll over you like this is a lot of fucking people.
And ultimately, yeah, but ultimately these people probably would like to have some bit of credit. Which is why, Caleb, you should have a list of people that are donating that you have in the corner of your stream or something, or on your channel or something of that nature.
That's true.
Maybe not necessarily amounts, but definitely a list of people. So we've already gotten to line 798. I'm trying to think how much longer this list goes. It goes at least for another 300 lines, I think. No, it only goes for another 158.
Right.
No, wait a minute. No, it only goes for another 132. I guess I'll finish this up. Alright, where were we? What line did I say we were at? I accidentally... In 9 ships. Dreadest, the god of battle. Yeah, oops, I was wrong. Yeah, I think it's... Well, whatever, I'll just continue. 9 ships, Tlepolemus, Herculean born, for courage famed and for superior size, filled with his haughty Rhodians, they in tribes, divided dwelt distinct, jealous these, those Lindus and the rest, the shining soil, of white Chimerus occupied him bore, to Hercules what time he led the nymph, from Ephyra and from Cela's banks, after full many a city laid in dust. Astyochia in his father's house, magnificent, Tlepolemus' spear famed, had scarce upgrown to manhood's lusty prime, when he his father's hoary uncle slew. Licymnius, branch of Mars, then built he ships, and pushing forth to sea, fled from the threats of the whole house of Hercules' huge toil, and many woes he suffered, till at length, at Rhodes arriving in 3 separate bands, he spread himself abroad. Much was he loved of all commanding Jove, who blessed him there, and showered abundant riches on them all. Nereus of Sima with 3 vessels came, Nereus, Aegea's offspring, whom she bore, to Chiropus the king, Nereus in form, the faultless son of Peleus sole except, loveliest of all the Grecians called to Troy, but he was heartless and his men were few. Nicerus, Cassus, Crapathus, and Cos were reigned Eurypylus with all the isles. Chaldae named under 2 valiant chiefs, their troops disposed, Pheidippus 1 and 1. His brother Antiphus begotten both, by Thessalus whom Hercules begat, in 30 ships they sought the shores of Troy. The warriors of Pelasgian Argos next, of Alus and Alopa, and who held Trachina, Thea, and for women fair, distinguished Hellas, known by various names. Hellenes, Myrmidons, Achaeans, them in 50 ships embarked Achilles ruled, but these were deaf to the horse-throated war, for there was none to draw their battle forth, and give them just array. Close in his ships, Achilles, after loss of the bright-haired Briseis, lay resentful, her obtained, not without labor hard, and after sack of Thebes and of Lyrnessus, whom where he slew two mighty chiefs, son of Evenus both. Epistrophus and Menes her he mourned, and for her sake self-prisoned in his fleet, and idle lay, though soon to rise again. Gotta love how the narrator can know what's happening in what happens further up in the story, and will give people a little hint, even though in the previous book they were just left with Achilles going and storming off and not wanting to have anything to do with the war. From Philasian, from the flowery fields of Parassus, a land to Ceres given, by consecration, and from Iton green, mother of flocks from Antron by the sea. And from the grassy meads of Pteleus came a people whom while yet he lived the brave. Protesilas led, but him the earth. Now covered dark and drear, a wife he left to rend in Phyllis her bleeding cheeks, and an unfinished mansion first he died. Of all the Greeks, for as he leaped to land, foremost by far a Dardan struck him dead. Nor had his troops, though filled with deep regret, no leader than Podarces led, a chief, like Mars in battle, brother of the slain, but younger born, and Ephialus or Ephiclus sprung, who sprang from Phylacus the rich in flocks, but him Protesilas as in years, so also in desert of arms excelled, heroic whom his host, although they saw Podarces at their head, still justly mourned, for he was fierce in battle, and at Troy with 40 sable-sided ships arrived. 11 galleys foray on the lake, and Bebe and Ilcus and the Vale of Glaphrace supplied with crews robust. Under Eumelus him Alcestis praised, for beauty above all her sisters fair, in Thessaly to King Admetus bore. Methone and Olizon's craggy coast, with Melibea and Thalmacia sent. 7 ships, their rowers were good archers all, and every vessel dipped into the wave, her 50 oars. Then Philoctetus skilled, to draw with sinewy arm the stubborn bow. Commanded, but he suffered anguish keen, inflicted by a serpent's venom tooth. Lay sick in Lemnos, him the Grecians there had left sore wounded, but were destined soon to call dear remembrance whom they left. Meanwhile, though sorrowing for his sake his troops, yet wanted not a chief than meet unruled, whom Rhena to the far-famed conqueror bore, Oeolus, fruit of their unsanctioned loves. From Tricca and from Ithome, rough and rude, with rocks and glens, and from Achalia town of Eurytus, Achalian born, came forth, their warlike youth by Podalirus led, and by Machaon, healers both expert of all disease, and 30 ships were theirs. The men of Ormenus, and from beside the fountain Hyperia, from the tops of chalky Titan and Asteria's band, them ruled Eurypylus, Evam's son, illustrious, whom twice 20 ships obeyed. Orthe, Gyrtone, Olosson white, Argissa and Helone, they their youth, gave to control of Polypotes' son, undaunted of Pirithous son of Jove. Him to Pirithous on the self-same day, when he the centaurs punished and pursued, sheered to Athisse, driven from Pelion's heights, the shaggy race Hippodamia bore. Nor he alone them led, with him was joined Leontius, dauntless warrior from the bold, Coronos sprung, whom Ceneus called his sire. Twice 20 ships awaited their command. Guneus from Cyphus 20 and 2 ships led forth, the Ennians him obeyed, and the robust Peroebe, warriors bold, and dwellers on Dodona's wintry brow. To these were joined who till the pleasant fields, where Titaresius winds the gentle flood, pours into Peneus all his limpid stores, but with the silver eddied Peneus flows, unmixed as oil, for Stygian is his stream, and Styx is the inviolable oath. Last, with his 40 ships, Tenthredon's son, the active Prothous came from the green banks of Peneus, his Magensians far and near, he gathered and from Pelion forest crowned. These were the princes and chiefs of Greece. And we'll be able to continue next time from line 931 and following to see what happened.
Really gives you a sense of scale, doesn't it?
Yes. If you're overwhelmed by the words, just imagine looking and seeing all the ships coming.
And all the places he's describing, and the pleasant fields and the gentle flood, and also, the wintry brow of this place or that place. That this vast amount of people around the Aegean Sea who could have come from all kinds of different climates and all kinds of different places, and all gathering on the seashore. It's epic. It's epic.
And it's interesting, and perhaps I don't have the ability to appreciate this as much as some other people might, but just getting one's senses overwhelmed with all of it is, I think, kind of the point.
Right.
Ah. Indeed. I need to take a little, shall we say, a potty break. Mr. Beers, would you mind, as you asked me, making some noise while I'm gone?
Certainly.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. So what we see in the Iliad is, this is sort of the archetypal epic. This is the epic on which all other epics are based. Perhaps there were epics before, there's the Epic of Gilgamesh, but in terms of the grand tradition of epics, especially in European literature, this is the basis for a lot of them. And we see what's important there. We see that a sense of scale is important. We see that a sense of vastness of time is important. We see that, the idea of a momentous historical event is important. But most important of all, I think scale is the thing with an epic. And you see that also in Milton, you see it in Paradise Lost. He's using this grandiose language in this long list, and the idea is to overwhelm you. And just, you're completely flattened by this long list of names and places and descriptions, and all these famous and renowned people who are all gathering in this one place for this earth-shattering event. This is what really... In a way, this sort of the action movie of the Bronze Age, this kind of thing. And there are epics in other cultures. In Indian culture, there was a thing called the Mahabharata. The Bhagavad Gita, which a lot of people know as a Hindu religious scripture, is a section out of the Mahabharata. I believe that's how you pronounce it, Mahabharata. Let's see here, what else? There's also, there are a few other things in other cultures. There's epic poetry in the Middle East, stuff like the Conference of the Birds, which is a Islamic poem, or the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. And as I mentioned before, there were the old epics of the Near East, like the Epic of Gilgamesh. But whereas the Epic of Gilgamesh is a tale of, two adventurers, Gilgamesh and Enkidu, and it has the Mesopotamian trope of the wild man who lives in the hills and so forth. There's also In this, it's more about it's focused on warfare, and there are a few heroes, but a great deal of it is the huge mass of people that lends its significance to this.
Well, please do continue.
So, in contrast to the epics of the Near East, and perhaps more similarly to the epics of India, the epics of Greece are epics of scale more than... Really, the Epic of Gilgamesh is more similar to the Odyssey or to Beowulf. You know, it's more similar to this tale of an adventurer who goes through all these wild deeds of daring do or whatever. Whereas the Iliad is more like the Mahabharata, you know, this enormous... this massive war and the huge armies on either side and all of the drama that went into it. Not so much the development of one character or set of characters that's spinning out and showing you all the various episodes that they went through, but just this continuous, so to speak, this continuous din of battle underlying the movement of these great figures on this sea of soldiers.
Didn't know that you had the capacity of speaking with such beauty. The din of battle, the sea of soldiers.
Well, the epic gets to me.
Excellent.
And this, incidentally, people, is why you need to read epic literature and why you need to read the Iliad and all of the other great classics, is because it allows you to view life through that lens for a moment and really appreciate things because you're willing to place a poetic filter on life and really see some beauty in it. And it's not an illusion. You're not lying to yourself. You're willing to see that side of it after you've absorbed this stuff.
Or even if you're coming from another perspective, if you're coming from a very sensory-rich perspective, the way that it's constructed also allows you to think about, because it goes through things so systematically and slowly, to see how all the pieces are intertwined with each other. It does it all.
You know, Gustav Mahler at one point remarked that a symphony must be like the world, it must embrace everything, and this is sort of following that ethos, I think. Epics, I think, follow that ethos.
Mm-hmm. And it's something that I think that is lost when all you do is make a movie.
Right.
What are you thinking about, Mr. Beers?
I'm just thinking back on listening to an audiobook of the Epic of Gilgamesh and how it's more similar, really, to the Odyssey, but in all honesty, what I would relate the Epic of Gilgamesh to would be Beowulf. It's a lot more like Beowulf, you know, these heroes, this person or pair of people going around slaying monsters and ruling over their kingdom and so on, and sort of following their exploits as individuals more than their movement on top of these big momentous events. Oh, and of course Beowulf and the Epic of Gilgamesh both contain big momentous events, but this is like sort of, you really get the sense that this is the linchpin the world is turning around. Troy right now is. Matt, are you there?
I'm here.
All right, I can't see you, so.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Caleb. I'm busy being a bit confused by something completely irrelevant to what it is that we're talking right now. I just need to go and drag my head out of my butt and focus on what it is that we're doing.
Well, what is it that was confusing you? Just say it in brief if you can.
How do I say this briefly? Confident, condescending, stupid people.
Ah.
You know, people that have mastered certain elements of rhetoric but don't have any freaking clue. Yeah. That's why you don't open your messages while... That's why you don't open your messages while streaming. Or at least that's why I don't. Or shouldn't. Hey! I remember that one time we were reading Flies in the Marketplace.
There's an epic.
That is very epic.
Flee into thy solitude where a rough, strong breeze bloweth.
Bye-bye, flies. Go back to the market and fight over rotten meat. You see, Nietzsche makes a case for the man cave, or for the lair, for the retreat, all these different things.
The study.
The study, yes.
Don't bother Daddy when he's in the study. You might get smacked.
Being able to have a place to escape to, and I guess that's what lets you know that Nietzsche was definitely an introvert. Being able to have a refuge, or maybe just Nietzsche just didn't like being surrounded by flies. I mean, stupid people. I mean,
Untermenschen.
Exactly. I lost track of where I was going with this, but yeah, that. I would be interested in. Would you be willing, Caleb, to read from book 37 of Thus Spake Zarathustra?
Certainly, send it to me.
Oh, I thought that
Oh
you
wait,
had
no,
it.
I'll get it. I got it.
I thought you had it.
I'll just pull it up on my screen here.
Oh, okay. Because we were discussing this last night, and I'm thinking that now that you've had a good night's sleep.
When yestereve the moon arose, then did I fancy it about to bear a sun, so broad and teeming did it lie on the horizon. But it was a liar with its pregnancy. And sooner will I believe in the man in the moon than in the woman. To be sure, little of a man is he also, that timid night reveller. Verily, with a bad conscience does he stalk over the roofs, for he is covetous and jealous, the monk in the moon, covetous of the earth and all the joys of lovers. Nay, I like him not, that tomcat on the roofs. Hateful unto me are all that slink around half-closed windows. Piously and silently doth he stalk along the star carpets, but I like no light-treading human feet on which not even a spur jingleth. Every honest one's step speaketh, the cat, however, stealeth along over the ground. Lo, cat-like doth the moon come along in dishonesty. This parable do I speak unto you sentimental dissemblers, unto you the pure discerners, you do I call the covetous ones.
Too bad that all I went to sleep.
Yes.
And
what this reminds me of is actually David Hume, when he said, do not forget in all the midst of your philosophy to be a man. And, you know, it's funny because every once in a while you have to come down from the cloud of abstraction back down to earth and do some regular earth person stuff, but you have to learn to also enjoy it. Because if you don't enjoy it, and don't, you know, feel any real lust for life, or don't allow yourself to feel it, you're going to suffer for it. Go ahead and feel some lust for life and risk not getting what you want, or else you'll guarantee that you don't get what you want. Nietzsche also says, oh, in this, let me see here. To be happy in gazing with dead will, free from the grip and greed of selfishness, cold and ashy gray all over, but with intoxicated moon eyes. I mean, that does sound pretty ideal to me, but for now I'm stuck here. So no moon eyes yet. I'll make part of a concession to Nietzsche that yes, as being stuck in fleshy body, we do have to be men. Or humans, women. But in all honesty, you know, the ashy all over and the moon eyes are still what I want. I'm just willing to make a concession and come back, let myself be tethered at least.
So not necessarily feet on the ground and head in the sky, but
Head in the sky and feet tied to the ground by a string of no more than 10,000 feet.
oh. I wonder if going and turning on my camera will ruin anything. Can you see me now?
Yes, I can.
Good, because I was just here like this, just 10,000 feet. So, normally I don't discuss my plans with almost anybody until they've already been completed. But I'm thinking about making an exception here on stream today. And it has to do with an exam that I'm signing up for.
I see.
And I don't know whether this is having my head in the sky or my feet on the ground or just being completely upside down and backwards about everything. But I'm going for my CFA certification. And in so doing, that means I'm going to be able to, once I get the results of my exam back, if I pass, the exam is like a 43% pass rate or something. Or 43% fail rate. Either way, it's basically about a coin flip on average if people will pass or fail. And it's all about finance. It's just finance-rich material. But after you do it, you're basically allowed to give investment advice. You will have a certain certifications and the like to be able to get jobs working in finance, working with other people's investments and the like. And I've always been investing in something. I've always been finding things to invest in and only buying things that I know are good deals in terms of assets. But being able to do it on a larger scale and being able to not be encumbered by so many laws and being able to do it on behalf of other people, I think is both going to be able to help me get further ahead in my own life and to assist other people in getting ahead in theirs. I'm like, one of the reasons I'm doing this is because you and I were discussing about getting into investments together at some point. Now, I don't know, you can obviously say no to anything that you want to at any point that you want to, but regardless of what it is, at least I will go and have the certification to make myself more useful for anybody that wants to work with me. And if I do wind up doing well, I'll definitely have more value to share. I was also considering going over the materials, because they give you a bunch of prep materials. And, of course, there's copyright law, so you can't just go and copy the material. But I was considering making a series of YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's say, hour 1, talk about the Iliad. Break, make a new video. Hour 2, just go through some CFA stuff so that people can go and learn finance on their own. So that this material, the content, not necessarily the actual curriculum, but so that the content can be disseminated. I really think that finance is important, and having it presented in some sort of a methodical way as opposed to the chaotic way that I went about learning it could be very useful. That I can kind of use the table of contents of the CFA Institute's materials to kind of lend a structure to teaching people who watch this stream or who watch my channel or what have you about finance. And then I could put together a course on Udemy or whatever, which is basically an aggregation of all my videos, and then I make some worksheets and stuff like that. What are your thoughts, Mr. Beers?
Works for me. I mean, at any point, right now I'm just on fire trying to get this online thing up and running.
Mm-hmm.
Because the tech job is killing me to some degree. And I think if I just go full bore into this for another 2 years or so, I should be good.
Mr. Beers, would you mind cycling your camera?
Yes, I'm doing like a rave dance on stream, aren't I?
Yes.
Okay, hang on.
And also on my Discord. Now I can't see you at all.
I was like... You can't see me at all?
I can't see you at all.
It says that it's transmitting my video.
That's odd.
Hang on. How about now?
Can't see you.
Okay, let's try this.
Something odd is either happening with Discord or with your camera.
No, my camera's working fine because I can see myself.
So it's an issue with Discord.
Yes.
We are no longer in Concord.
Well, I think now might be a good time to wind the stream down then.
Well, that sounds like a reasonable idea. We are actually pretty close to the 2-hour mark anyway. And, or actually no, an hour and a half mark because we wound up having technical difficulties at the beginning. But so what? Anyhow, thank you very much for your presence, and especially for bringing up the beating of Thersites. I think that was an important point to rehash and to draw sufficient attention to, as I definitely didn't do so the first time around. And also, thank you very much just for your company. I really do appreciate being able to be here.
Thank you.
All right.
That's all we have for now, folks. Until next time.
See ya. Oh, well, ugh. Well, anyhow, see ya. That's all, folks.
All right, I'm going to